love this music.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Black History Month.
Yo, I'm blackety black.
I'm blackety black.
I thought I was being blackety black all month long.
Yeah, so one of the posts I responded to, I am putting random shit in cookie containers, margarine. I'm using that for my kids don't even wear barrettes, but I'm just putting grease and another thing instead of just throwing it away. Like, I'm just doing all blackety black shit and no one's gonna tell me anything.
I feel you.
I got on all black today too.
That's not an anomaly or anything.
But it feels different. It's walking through like, hello, good morning.
The thing is though, your shirt says sis.
Exactly. And I'm working and I'm around whoever. That's how I'm greeting people today.
I'm with you. My daughter called me bruh this morning. I was like, yo, bruh.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, don't call me bruh.
But then you say, yo. ZJ starts, yo, Ma, let me tell you what happened. I'll be like, why you saying yo? And then I'll turn around, yo, Z, did you hear how? And I'm like, wow.
Yo, from a New York person is an adjective. It's a noun.
It's everything.
It's an expletive.
It's everything.
Because you be like, yo. It's a greeting.
And it's definitely a greeting. It's definitely. And it's also, it's beware too. Like, yo.
A warning.
Yeah, there you go. Yo. Like, that's really saying stop fucking with me. Yo. It goes to the kids. It goes to the person outside. Yo. And then when you say it several times, yo, okay, yo. Like, that the next time may be a problem. We on our shit today.
Oh,
we on it all month. And we got 29 days too.
We got 29 days, so don't show off. But this is real, but this is kind of funny. So I have on this shirt. This is one of the shirts I got from Michael's shoe.
Oh, and you didn't get me.
Wait a minute, guys.
Yo.
So I got this other shirt, and I was like, yo, Soph, I'm gonna get you one of these shirts. I go to Michael's in the Black County place, and the shelves was empty, and I was like, I must have to go back to Ellicott City to get you a shirt.
No, but what happened is you went back, and then you got you another kind.
No, I got two.
Oh,
I got two the first time.
Okay, gotcha.
I got two the first time. Good to be back. What's up?
It is. It's good. It's dreary outside, but feel good. You know, the weather doesn't always have to dictate the mood, right?
Yeah.
So good. What you got, Dr. L?
All right. We're gonna start with a little exercise with Soph as my.
Oh, come on.
You put me on your
do.
fucking couch every time.
I do. I'm ready.
Don't even.
Let me sip my tea. My voice is a little raspy.
All right. So I'm gonna state something.
Okay.
And you're gonna tell me very succinctly the feelings you experienced when these things happened.
Oh, okay.
Just feelings.
All right, so let me take a breath. Let me ground myself so I can be present.
You ready?
I'm ready. So wait, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just saying what I felt.
What you felt.
Okay.
The feelings that were apparent.
Okay. That way
when these things
evoked.
happen.
Yes.
Okay. Tragedy of 9/11.
Fear.
Anything else?
Fear was big because I was away and had a boyfriend who was working in that area. Sadness once it did show up on the screen what had happened. Just overwhelmed. You know, the lines was blocked, so couldn't get to family, so confused, worried.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year, Nipsey Hussle.
I felt sad. I felt anxious. I was actually driving from somewhere, so I was on a highway and felt like I couldn't just really take it in. So I felt anxious as I was driving. And fear came up too. Fear came up.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut?
That's the only one so far that the emotion came up present, right?
I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, heavy real intense sorrow, defeat.
Defeat.
Yeah. And helpless.
Mm, 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 mm. How about
That evoked something right now.
Mhm.
Like I still feel it, still
yeah.
lingering.
Yes. 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 How about Whitney Houston?
Mm. So let me tell you, when you first started this, I was hoping you didn't say her, because she is the celebrity that I felt like I stalked my entire life. It felt personal. It felt personal.
Mm.
I felt anger and sadness. On top of everything else, anger came up with that one. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Kobe. Just Kobe.
yeah. Confused. Um, confused was the first thing. I kept saying, "Who's Kobe?" And my husband said, "How many Kobe Bryants do you know?" So confusion stayed for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then sadness kicked in without knowing the rest, but just thinking about the connection of his family.
Okay.
So yeah, confusion and sadness were the most prevalent initially.
And so once they released that Gigi was with him,
It intensified.
it,
The,
so the
the
things that were already there
yeah,
intensified.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
because it was like, oh damn, that's sad. But then when I heard the kid, and then when I heard other kids and families, it was like, it took.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different breath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so
That was good. That was good, Dr. L.
so so you know, with anything, social media goes rampant when stuff like this happens. And it's so interesting because you guys know I'm the news junkie, and so it popped up on my phone from the news. And my fact check was to go to Instagram.
Ah,
I was like,
let me see.
oh shit, let me see if this is really true.
yeah,
And I ain't see anything.
yeah.
So I must have got it real quick, right? And so, you know, since then it's just exacerbated and gotten bigger, bigger, and bigger. But what it's also pulled out is different comments from different people. And so you have people who are expressing their mourning, they're sad. You have people who are in a place of reflection and they're like, you know, don't wait until tomorrow.
People who's here and
Heal wounds, and you're reaching out to the person who was toxic in your life, reconcile differences.
Yeah.
And, you know, then you have a group of people who are on the opposite side, and they're like, you ain't know him. He wasn't putting any money in your pockets.
You wasn't with him shooting in the gym.
Exactly. What makes him any different than the person who died from cancer yesterday? Right. And so what this all brings about is there's this concept of collective grief. And I have to be honest, I never thought about it like that. And so the definition of collective grief is grief felt by a collective group, community, society, village, nation, and it's a result of an event like war, a natural disaster, terrorist attack, death of a public figure, event that leads to mass casualties or national tragedy. And there are some concepts underneath collective grief because a lot of people assume that grief should be personal and individualized.
Yes, absolutely. The first time I heard that term was in 9/11. So here, I was in college at the time, and what was offered is to go to the chapel and pray. And one of the people who was speaking, that was the first time that I heard that term. They said that it's okay that we are in this collective grieving place. And my psychology major self was like, never heard of that. And I remember looking it up. But it is not something that you do hear regularly. The next time, now literally I'm talking college years all the way into, I heard it again. I was watching a special on Dateline when there was the shooting in Florida at the gay nightclub.
Yes.
And they, well, of course, they had the psychologists and psychiatrists like interviewing the survivors who had survivor's remorse and all of this different thing, and they were using the term collective grief. But that big span, I just did not hear that term regularly, and I was reminded again, and that was maybe 2 years ago. So it's just something that really goes over our heads, and even in my profession,
it absolutely does. But when I thought about it, it made perfect sense, because you was off last week, right? And so right after this happened, it was most people who came in my office wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
They wanted to talk about it for whatever reason. Just colleagues of mine said, hey, can I come talk to you? Because that really, really messed me up.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it matters, and I think that's the first point under this concept of collective grief. But let me add something. So, in indigenous places, indigenous people are known. Grief is always collective.
Yes.
It's never individualized.
Yes. Very good point. Yeah.
And so in those type of environments, everybody is brought to one common place and allowed to grieve however they want to.
Yeah.
Openly and honestly, which in retrospect, I love that concept, to be honest, because think about in our own families. Yes. Oh my gosh. Everybody is grieving. The way I described to my family when my grandmother died, I say, everybody is in their separate bubble.
Yes.
Grieving, feeling like their grief is worse than family member two's grief.
Yeah.
And you just sitting there in anxiety. Why can't everybody come together and express their grief and acknowledge, yes, you lost, regardless?
Exactly. Whatever the title is, whatever the connection, how close you thought this person was to this. And then what happens is, another piece to that is, we judge the way people grieve.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, he didn't even cry. Like, okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at her. She's doing too much. She's falling. She done threw up. Look at her at the casket. It's because she feel guilty because she ain't go and see it that much. Like,
exactly.
Just judging the way. So culturally, especially minorities, we do it privately. Because I don't want to hear how you saying, or I didn't even know that you was close with her like that.
Right.
So now you in this, oh my gosh, this heavy space, and now you contemplating like, am I doing too much? And you can't even do it. So you know what? I'll do it individually.
And it's so interesting, actually, how things just pop up. I was telling you that somebody I grew up with, who's just like a year older than us, she passed away in December, and I haven't seen her in years. I have not seen her in years, but she's connected to a really well-known family in Albany. She's a very sweet, gentle person, life of the party, knew mounds of people. Yeah. And that was like the way Facebook just lit up when she passed away was like overwhelming. Yeah. And even though I haven't lived in Albany in so many years, and I haven't even seen her in so many years, things like us being connected on social media and talking about Beyonce, like there was still some connection there. Yeah. And so I questioned myself, like, are you really sad, or are you just jumping on the bandwagon?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm sad. Like, and it's okay to be sad. It's not I don't like this story. This is not a good story. This story doesn't make you feel good. And so, yeah. But for the first concept under collective grief is this. Do you need to know a person personally to grieve them or connect your emotions that are brought about by that loss? And so that's the thing that I'll clarify. For a lot of people with Kobe, it's the emotions that's intensifying the loss. Mm-hmm. What his death brings about in you. Exactly. Does it bring about, oh shit, I gotta live for today, not for tomorrow? Mm-hmm. I was talking to somebody and I'm like, I think a big thing is a big thing that could come to mind, and it doesn't come to everybody's mind, but Kobe is a legend, right? And so if a legend dies by a tragedy like that, the thought is, well, if that can happen to them,
there you go. Yeah.
What keeps it from happening to me or in my life?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? I'll even say, so we talked about Whitney. So, you know, I can't cry very easily because I try to put things into perspective, right? But when I watched Whitney Houston's funeral,
yeah,
I was a mess.
Yeah.
I was a total mess, right? But when her daughter died, and then the daughter's boyfriend just recently died, that was heavy for me. Like, I felt bad.
Yeah.
Like, helpless, I think is the word that you said. Like, somebody could have saved Whitney, which would have saved Bobby, Christina.
Right.
Which maybe Nick Gordon would have been
Yeah.
getting his life together also. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it brings about, I think, like you said, that those emotions attached
Exactly.
to the loss.
Nothing happens in our life that doesn't give us an opportunity to unveil something within. Nothing, especially that you can see, you know. So even though it's like, oh, you don't know this person, what does this evoke for you? Like you said, if it's, oh, I need to live for today, or, you know, I've been procrastinating for years, or, oh, I cut people off without thinking twice about it. Something, and it's unfortunate, but things happen for you to be able to see something within you. That was a place for me of just being in a space of gratitude, of
For
like seeing what happened with Kobe and his child. It's like that was because that's something with me. So that's why something that it was evoked in you is going to look different because your journey is different. So every time there is a loss, regardless if we know the person, it gives you this opportunity to say, oh shit, what is this saying to me? And that was like, you get focused here we got this Medicaid fiasco going, and I haven't been paid in 6 weeks. It's like, what the fuck? And 90% of my clients are recipients of this, you know? So I could have just been so focused in finances, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta pay 2 mortgages, blah, 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 whatever my overhead is, and missing that, oh my gosh, I have this 15-year-old who wants to go to this program in the summer, and this 12-year-old, and we going to Disney on Ice, and this kid who's celebrating. How much am I present and just really grateful for what's happening right now? That did that for me. And then, of course, when you hear more and more about who else was on there, I was like, you know, so yes, it was the empathy and sympathy for the Bryant family and the other passenger families, but that was an opportunity for me to see me in that. And sometimes we miss that in a loss, where the grief in the mourning becomes so heavy that we miss the opportunity to say, what is this showing me? Because life doesn't place things in front of us for no reason.
And so I was having a conversation with somebody, and you know, for me, I got to think about things before I comment on them usually. And so when I was talking to somebody, and they were looking at this loss from a deficit perspective.
Yeah, we usually do, right?
I couldn't imagine not being able to save my daughter, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a perspective, right?
Yeah.
My perspective, though, when I was thinking, I was like, damn, Kobe was 41. I'm 37, right? He accomplished so much in his life. And I was like, I'm sure he don't regret shit. You know what I mean? And so for me, what it evoked was living every day and living the moment of every day and not necessarily reconciling past relationships. No, because if I put your ass on ice you shall remain.
Right.
Okay?
Right. I saw such an amazing post that said, whoa, slow down, sis, with this reconciliation process shit you got going, and you just bringing the toxicity back. Like, you could forgive from a distance. And I said, well, amen to you. Because you got to go back and no, you don't.
No, because I still pray for you even though your ass is on ice.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I still don't wish anything harmful. The most I say to people is jump off a sidewalk, usually. But
that could really cause some damage, yo.
I guess so. You're right. Maybe I should stop saying that. But anyway, so yes, my perspective was one of gratitude in a different way. Whereas, again, this guy did whatever he wanted to. He accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish in 41 years.
Yes. And he got to say what? A year or two ago, like, yo, I'm good, and I really want to be home with my family more. Like, can I say that next year?
How? And I don't believe in irony. You know what I mean? But he was able to, moments after LeBron surpassing his scoring record, he was able to. That was his last tweet. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, good job.
Right.
And it's almost like, here, I'm passing the torch.
Yeah.
But really. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, yes, the emotion of a loss is what makes it personal for people.
Right. Because, you know, what you reminded me, my piece about feelings are universal. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have to. I'm so bugged out. You know, I tell you guys that I'm sensitive. I watch This Is Us. I don't know these fucking people, and it's not even real as far as what's happening on TV, but it feels real. It feels real, and I'll be like, come on, like, come on, Toby, pull yourself together. Like, just seeing someone else's pain, seeing someone's hurt, or even joy, you know, someone being excited about, you know, getting into a grad program that they've been wanting to do for the past 6 years, I could tear up for that because it's like, yes, I remember what that felt like, getting that acceptance letter. I remember what it felt like not getting accepted, and then the acceptance, you know, there was a delay of something, but in the moment I thought it was a denial.
Right,
so seeing the joy of someone realizing that the delay wasn't a denial, like that can bring up emotions for a person, good, bad, or indifferent, and it's nothing wrong with that. You know, someone was like, "Oh, you ain't even fuck with the Lakers." What does that have to do with? I do love basketball, but I could never have watched basketball a day in my life, and still, that's why I don't watch the news. I don't know all of these victims. And that shit is too intense.
Heavy.
Like, nah, yeah, some of them I have worked with and encountered with, but many of them I don't know.
Right.
And it's like, no, thank you. I cannot watch this crying mother and father who's been absent show up today and find out this is what happened to his son. I can't. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's real. And I think that, you know, being aware of collective grief, but just staying in your own lane so people can really feel comfortable to, you know, let out whatever it is that they need to release without judgment or the comments. And I stayed off of social media for 2 days after that. And not to mention, I was traveling with my kid 4 days after that. And I had to counter the thoughts. So yes, even though this was a private helicopter, shit in my head, it was flying, period. And not to mention, we do hear stuff that happens in regular planes and things like that. So I had to really kind of come against everything.
Disconnect.
Exactly. Because I'll be lying if I say even in that moment, it was like, I'm going to be on a plane with my kid, just my kid and I. Like, what if something happens? Am I going to be holding him? I'm like, come, stop.
Right.
We're going to cancel and delete this right now. But social media and the media period just was adding to, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna stay off of this and set an intention for this vacation.
Yeah. So the second concept is public loss creates an emotional space where people have to visit their own mortality and meaning of life.
Yes, yes, 100%. 100%. And this is a tough comment, right? But
This is really hard.
because what we haven't learned in life is that stuff like that has to happen for you to grow. That's a tough thing to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
I can say a year and a few months after losing my aunt that it had to happen that way.
Mm.
And that was not easy for me to say or
Mhm.
acknowledge. And as much as I could stand in it now, it still is a little uneasy. But coming into terms of just who I am and just how life is, that everything has its order.
Right.
And not that her life was my life per se, but it's just like it had to be that way for other pieces to be how it's supposed to be. And even if something that tragic happened, for one person to say, my life is meaningful, I am purpose, and I'm going to move into that purpose, that was that.
Right. I think that so from what you said, I so I don't know if I mentioned. I know when we talked about grief, you have referenced Nisi and I have referenced my grandmother, but
Mhm.
I don't know if I ever mentioned that Sophia already knows this, obviously. But when my grandmother was in her phase of transitioning, I don't know if you remember this, Soph, but the night before she passed away, and she was at home, we were kind of at the kitchen table, and we knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And sitting there, everybody said, me, the therapist, my sister, the physician, my mother, the nurse's aide, everybody said, I don't want to be here when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said,
Yeah.
I don't want to be here
Yeah.
when it happens. And somehow the next day,
Yeah.
I end up being the only
Yeah.
one there
Yeah.
when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was devastated. I was so devastated because she was there one minute and I walked in the next minute and I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Time froze
Yeah.
for 6 months, not 6 seconds, right? And once I came out of that and doing my own, just thought processes, journaling, writing my grandmother letters, I came to that conclusion. That was the way it was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Regardless of what I wanted, regardless
Yeah.
of how I feel like it scarred me, that was the way that it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And that's it. An interesting thing, I always, when I talk to people and they plant seeds of thought, I like to share them. And so I was sharing with a colleague about this young lady who passed away from Albany, the one I referenced earlier. And I was telling her how I had anxiety in my chest that day and I just couldn't relax. It was like New Year's Eve and it was overwhelming. And I said, the thought just keeps coming to my mind. If this cancer shit is happening to younger people at crazy rates,
Yeah.
and every time I get an ache, a bump, or a nauseous feeling, that's my first thought is, do I have fucking cancer, right? And she said, very calmly, she said, LaShawna, my belief is that everybody's story is written. We just live in the days of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get consumed in other people's story.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. That's pretty fucking interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right?
It's your soul plan. The plan is there already, and going through it, and I can't look at your soul plan. because it's not mine.
Exactly.
You know, even down to my daughter, that was her sole plan, to have a development, be nonverbal, and express herself. That was her plan. And the more I understand that, it releases me of, did I do something wrong while I was carrying her?
Yeah.
What should I be doing? My kid chose that plan. She could have chose another one, but that's the plan she chose. Even my aunt transitioned at 51. That was her plan. And the more I grasp that concept, it's not that the grief isn't there. It just, because you still miss a person. You do. You do miss them. But all the other shit that it comes with isn't there. And grief is like anxiety, right? There are normal bases of anxiety that we can handle. But what happens is when we start adding other shit to it, it's like, oh my God, this is too much. I'm having anxiety attacks and blah, 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 blah. But there's a normal level. It's the same thing with grief. There's a normal level of grief. But if I couple it with, but why? So young. And she has so much more to do. And blah, 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 blah. Now the grief feels daunting.
Ridiculous.
Opposed to a tear, you know. I was riding the other day, and Rihanna and I forgot the name of the song, but it was a song that my aunt loved. And it's an older song. 2 days in a row, I kept getting in the car and the shit kept coming on. I was like, oh, Nisa, you want to dance, don't you? I swear if somebody pulled up next to me, they would have been like, this bitch crazy. Because I was like doing her little moves that she do at every party. And that moment could have been something different, like in the bed for 2 days. And so I am clear that her soul plan was hers. And like I said, it doesn't remove that I miss her, you know, but it's her plan.
It puts things into perspective.
Yes, exactly.
I think it creates a space of acceptance.
Yeah, acceptance, surrendering to your own plan, and a place of peace. Anxiety is absent of peace.
So the guy I was talking to about, who said, you know, I was really, really restless in just the reoccurring thought of not being able to save my daughter. And so the next day, because I'm the news junkie and it's my job to deliver the news sometimes.
Yeah. This was a good one.
I said, hey, you know, they just said that when they found Gigi, she was still in her father's arms. And he was like, oh.
Yeah.
So no, her father couldn't save her, but he held on to her. And I have to be honest. Every picture I see of them and him like holding her, or, you know, them looking like, and I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like, y'all might not get tears from me. Y'all gonna get tears from me one day, and then I ain't gonna be able to stop it. But I got goosebumps today. And every picture that I see of them two, and the thought that he was holding her, if I was that mom, that would be the peace for me.
Yeah.
I can't say that it is the peace for her,
Absolutely.
but that would be the peace for me, is that my baby was in her safest place, and that was in the arms of her father.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I guess I wish we weren't so afraid to consider our own mortality and the meaning of our lives.
But you know,
it's hard.
It is hard, but what it also signals to us is that, you know, you're not doing your work. That's why. Because when you ask someone, well, why don't you want to die? Because I have so much more to do. I have so much more to do.
So do it.
Right. So fucking do it. Right. So, and don't get me wrong, there's another clause to that. People say, because I want to watch my kids get married. Oh, I want to, you know, there are more to it. But initially, it's because I have so much to do. I want to show the world. And it's like, so what have you been doing? And if you feel like you haven't, here's your opportunity. Because we really don't know. I said to someone the other day, and it's so bugged out how things just kind of get aligned when you start getting aligned, right? So before my birthday, I don't really do birthday parties, right? I'll just be like, oh, come on, let's do dinner. Let's do what I enjoy. But this time it was like, you know what? I don't really want to be in a club amongst other people who I don't know or fuck with, right? So let's just create a space of just who I want to connect with. And I was telling someone, they was like, so why do you want to do a party? And I was like, one, I just haven't been able to connect with a lot of people in the past 7 months. But then also, I don't want to wait for milestones. I don't have to wait to, like, you know, we doing this big South of France trip for my husband's birthday, and we were in Africa for my 35th, all these milestones, and we travel, but it's like the milestones, it's got to go big. Like, yeah, we going, and we going to go to 3 places in South Africa. Like, okay, I don't want to do that. I love champagne. But a lot of people around me don't drink champagne. So when I go to the club and be like, okay, fine, whatever you guys get, as long as I do drink that. So I wait for, okay, now I'm going to, if I fucking want to drink champagne on February 6th, that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going to go buy this Imperial Moet, and that's what I'm having today. I'm not waiting for, and so I had this whole thing, and you know, some of my starters were like, yeah, exactly. Fuck that. Like, we not waiting to 40 and 45. Like, we want to have a big bash. We want to do a big trip. This is how we move it. And then when the Kobe situation came, it was like, yeah, you see how we move it, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah. Like, whatever it is that we want to do. I want to have surf and turf. I'm not waiting for Valentine's Day. I want it today. Well, I really can't afford it now.
I was about to say,
my money is a little fucked up.
I wanted Coco's yesterday, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm having Coco's for lunch." And I was like, "Oh no, sis, you're not having Coco's for lunch."
And my Kevin Hart voice, the way my account is set up, by the time it transfers, it's gonna take three days from ING to send it to this one. Yeah, so I may not be able to do it right now, but I am gonna manifest that if I fucking want lobster, that's what it is that I'm having.
Absolutely.
And you know, whatever kind of steak to fit it. But it's really about, for me, that it's like I don't need to wait for the celebratory. Today is the celebration for me.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I was saying about New Year's, right? Like,
absolutely.
I don't have to wait. Today is your New Year. It was a little fucked up last month. Ta-da! Happy New Year's to you.
Yep. Start over.
Yeah, like we keep waiting for these pivotal moments. Oh,
and
my
so,
kid turned 10, or they're graduating.
So that's one thing, even in people who plan out every minute of their life, right? And you planning out, oh, I'm not going to do that until. Why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
Why not do it now?
Me and my friend used to be like, we're going to get a full length when we turn 40. Nah, fuck that. We getting a full length right now.
Right.
We want it to drag on the floor. We want to wear it on the subway. We want to wear it wherever. We're not waiting to 40 for a full length, but that's what the mantra was. You get this at this age, you get this at this, you purchase your home, you do. No, I'm creating my own rules.
Whatever you want, right? Did I tell you, side note, did I tell you I bought 2 seats at the Raven Stadium?
No. How? You ain't even got no money. Because I wanted to. Exactly, right? You manifest what it is you want. Woo!
Oh, yes. I own 2 very awesome ass seats
in
the 100 level.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So y'all heard her say it just in case, because this side chick, she be cheating and she'll be done post a goddamn picture of the other person. So y'all heard her say that I could come
all the
too
seats
again.
are mine.
Exactly.
For like whenever we want to go. You want to go? You want to go? We all can go.
That is boss shit, yo.
Yeah, I did that.
Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah,
that is good.
And I wasn't going to.
See?
Right?
Wait for a milestone.
And again, the way things happen, right? And so, you know, I'm random as shit, right? And so I was like, I wonder how much season seats are.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is, like, you know? Entered my name into the inquiry box. Next day, dude calls me. I didn't get the call. I'm like, I'm not fucking calling him back. I don't know why the fuck you put your name in that box. You cannot afford this, right? He calls me again, gets me on the phone. Hey, LaShawna, it's Ryan with the Ravens. I'm like,
hey,
all right, Ryan, tell me all about how this goes. So he's telling me, and so I got these seats in the 100 level. Section 112 where you sat that game you went to
Oh,
that
shit.
Thursday night. Oh, you don't look me up already, Ryan? and I was like, yeah, I wasn't going to do it. But I was
Yeah.
like,
And
yes.
you know, I love 100 level.
Yes, I'm doing that shit in my favorite section, end zone. So yes, don't. And to me, even though, you know, Medicaid playing they bullshit they playing, I'm going to make it work.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
And
that's
so,
the piece, right?
And that's the thing is when you want something, fucking get it.
Yeah.
So that you can live with no regrets.
And I know we're throwing out kind of tangible things that's connected to some kind of monetary level, but that's also down to healing too, right? Where it's like, you know, one day I'm gonna get over this whole shit with my dad today.
Yeah.
Today. That this friend that you haven't been speaking to for 10 years, I'm not telling you to call the friend, but heal the fact of you felt betrayed.
Whatever. Yeah.
So that you could stop being a shitty friend or got the guard up or don't want to trust anybody that comes into your life. So this is not just about, oh, you want champagne or, you know, you want some wine today, go get it. No, deeper than that. Stuff within you. Say, I'm doing it today and stop waiting at the new year. I'm going to get a therapist or I'm going to join this church or whatever it is that you've been saying, those incomplete cycles, complete them now.
Yep. So the third thing, and we've kind of talked, we've said this, but just to point it out.
Okay.
Whether it's collective grief or individual grief, other people don't get to determine who, how, and how long somebody grieves. And so you just don't.
You don't.
You know what I mean?
It's
you
not
can't
your place.
say, it's not your place to say, so going back to another collective grief issue way back, I don't know how old we were, so Columbine, right?
Yeah.
And so because we weren't really news junkies back in Columbine, I don't remember this, but I was reading about it in my research. And so when the Columbine shooting happened, some guy who lived a few states away, he drove to the area and he constructed 15 crosses.
Okay. Yes. Uh-huh.
He constructed 15 crosses. 13 of the crosses were for the individuals who were killed, and 2 of the crosses were for the shooters. And it created this huge issue.
Yeah.
How dare you? And this kind of goes into another aspect of honoring the loss, collective or individual. And we talked about that when we just talked about, you know, individual grief. And so it was a huge, big outbreak about they don't get to deserve to be honored, and that's kind of a slap in the face to the victims and their families. And you don't get to determine how somebody or who a person grieves.
Exactly.
That's not for anybody to determine.
Yeah.
Because my empathic heart would say about those 2 shooters is something was broken in them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so
when they showed their journals, they were severely depressed.
absolutely.
Severely depressed. One had trauma. Like it was,
Exactly.
But that just goes, you know, just as a reminder of we or the country is quick to have sympathy, but really don't know what empathy is. You know, I feel sorry as long as I deem that person as the victim. But as soon as I feel like you're the persecutor, it's like, oh, I don't feel sorry for you.
Right.
You know, people to us, people, how do you work with someone who's a murderer or, you know, a sexual predator or, you know, all of these different things. And it's just like, they have a story too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that one is, but collectively that's hard because as a whole society just struggles with minding their business. You know, just mind it. And it sounds so colloquial and simple, right? But no, mind your fucking business. if you really just stay in your lane, and you guys hear me say this in so many different ways. Today was a little bit more in my blackety black, but it's really like if you stay in your lane, what's happening over there is really none of your business.
Absolutely.
But you're so busy looking for something to project on so you don't have to deal with your own shit, because you can't do both. You can't really be grieving and feeling sorry for those high schoolers and their families and blah 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 blah, and then still saying, how dare you, why did you put the cross up? You can't do both. So if I focus on you, that means I really don't have to deal with my shit, and just society is just big on I don't want to deal with me. It's easier to pick apart your shit.
And so the other thing that when we talked about grief in season 1, we talked about grief being the emotion felt after a loss.
Correct.
And so the loss doesn't necessarily have to be a person. Right. And so even in the sense of those 15 crosses, to me that represents a loss of feelings of safety. You know what I mean? Because for me, that was when schools started to be unsafe. And schools should never be unsafe.
Because how am I learning and still worrying about which exit or which desk I'm going to hide under?
When my daughter came home a few weeks ago and told me that they did an active shooter drill.
Yeah, man.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Right? And again, having to be slow with my responses sometimes. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I wish my daughter didn't have to do an active shooter drill. For us, fire drills was the highlight of our life in elementary school. Well, we had a fire drill today. We had to go outside, no coats on.
And then they started doing tornado ones. That one was a little weird because you had to like get on the floor and do some
and there were no tornadoes really in Albany, New York. And so, but an active shooter drill?
Yeah, they have code words. ZJ will tell me what the code word is and which closet, like real shit. Like they not even playing with it. Like, okay, we're just gonna lock the doors. Like, no, you 6 are to go in this place and you 6 are to go. Like they have assigned areas, designated areas if they that shit, that's bugged.
That's crazy.
Growing up in my hood, it was who's gonna get shot maybe outside, like,
but not
fucking in the school,
not inside, not in Walmart.
Yeah, like that was even. Yeah, it's so much shit that we could have did this with. Because I remember going to the movies after that dark, the Batman shooting. And I remember fucking being, YouTubers, y'all will be able to see this. But I was like this. And my husband was like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable here. And this was a month after that shooting. But I was like, you just don't think going to the movies.
I've always been scared at the movies, though.
Really?
So I don't know if you remember, probably when we were younger, that those curtains like that are behind you, they used to line the walls.
Yeah.
And they used to move a little bit.
Well, yeah. Maybe the AC or the heat or something.
I don't fucking know. But at 10 years old, I'm like, what the fuck is behind that curtain? Right? So I wasn't never... I didn't like it. Yes, exactly, John. Exactly. And so, and I'm not the huge moviegoer. I'm really fun sometimes.
I like how you said sometimes.
I'm not, but I've always been nervous at fucking movie theaters.
Yo, that shit fucked me up. And my husband kept saying, that was a long time ago. And I was like, not really. It was like 3 weeks, a month ago. But I'm like, I bet when they went to go see Dark Knight, they didn't think that was going to happen.
Exactly.
So here we are, so I'm kind of sitting. And he was like, so if you do that, you won't get shot? I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what the rationale behind it, but I was uneasy. I wasn't present. I don't know what the fuck the movie was about, actually. So, we just live in a different state of the climate is different.
Climate is different.
And not to live in fear, but, just being aware.
Vigilant.
Yeah, exactly. And not hyper like me, guys, but just being vigilant and aware, but also allowing yourself to just feel what comes up when you hear about it.
Yeah. And so, just kind of before we get to takeaways, wrapping up, just a little tidbit: public funerals, vigils, things like memorials, things like that. Those are activities that help people to validate and work through their feelings of anger, frustration, hurt, sadness. You know, I remember so many people going to California after Nipsey Hussle passed away.
You didn't even ask me about Biggie, but, you know, that was a big thing in Brooklyn. It was huge. Like, the whole Bed-Stuy was, like, locked down. But that's also when I was at a place of, like, I don't really know this person. Like, yeah, that's my stomping grounds, and, you know, he's who he is. I feel more now than I did then, when it was like, oh, you going, Soph? And I'm like, no. You know, I did tell my father, like, oh, take pictures, because his store was, like, right where everything was happening. But I was like, I was kind of disconnected. And same thing with Aaliyah too. Like, but I was younger. I was younger and just like, damn, that's sad. And then kind of, you know, play their music. I always play Biggie anyway, but it was still like, it didn't emotionally. But the more I lived and was exposed to things, and it was like, oh shit, that was sad.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Do you realize how old he was, and you know how old Pac was? Like, god damn.
I had a hard time when Tupac got killed.
Yeah, yes.
I like mesmerized. Like, him and Janet Jackson was the two people
you
on
was
my
in
wall.
college that still had pictures up and shit. I'm like, you still got pictures on the wall?
Oh, in my apartment. I had that framed picture of Tupac. My father hated it.
And you think because it was framed, I'm like, Suge, you gotta. It was like, we know you like this fucking lime green and Tupac.
Yeah, that was it for me. But it's interesting. You just made me think, because Journey doesn't know Kobe Bryant, right? But she's a news watcher.
I hate it.
Sophia, I get it.
I fucking hate it.
But yo, when she was rattling down the candidates for Congress, like, she was serious about it. She was so serious. Like, she was like, why aren't we voting for Maya? And I'm like, what? Harry T. Like, I'm like, do you know Harry T? I'm like, I know Harry T, actually. She's like, did you? Like, we're going down. But anyway, Kobe passed on a Sunday. Monday, she came from school and she was like, Mommy, did you know about this basketball player? And I'm like, huh? She's like, Kobe Bryant, did you know about that basketball player? He like died or something? And I'm like, yeah. So then we ended up having this whole talk about accidents, and sometimes accidents happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why we take safety measures, and we look both ways before crossing the streets, and we wear a seatbelt appropriately, because my kid liked to put her seatbelt behind her. And I'm like, you weigh 46 pounds, sis. You need to make sure your seatbelt is across your chest, you know. And so the way it comes up for younger people, it can ignite those anxieties and those fears too. And so we have
to have those conversations, because they hear about it. Because here, when we got on the plane, I didn't have that conversation with my son, and he said, is this the kind of plane that Kobe Bryant died on? I called my mother immediately and said, you had a fucking conversation with my son saying that Kobe died on a plane? She was like, no, it was on the news, and he started asking questions, so we had a conversation, and I was pissed. But, you know, I said, well, what we do to counter that is we pray. So we held hands on the plane and went into prayer, and it appeared that he was okay. Better. But I know my kid perseverates, so I know it was on his mind until we landed.
Right. So, you know, if you had any takeaways for people who have been on either side of the fence in this matter of collective grief, what would you offer them?
Very similar to what, you know, I have shared or we have expressed on different episodes, is honoring yourself and allowing whatever it is to show up be.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that it has to be exposed in the workplace or, you know, in a classroom setting or whatever, but just allow yourself, just be gentle to you, instead of, why am I crying? Why am I sad about this? Or why am I so rigid or not wanting to be connected to it because I didn't know this person? Just allow it to be. That's really about accepting who we are, right? All of it. It's not like, oh, just the emotions we feel are pretty and cute, and then the ones that we feel are negative. It's just really, all right, this is what I'm feeling. And I guarantee you, I'll bet my invisible Medicaid check that if you allow yourself to feel it and attend to it, it will subside more quicker than you trying to stuff it and shove it and move it and run from it. It's just going to persist and just get bigger and bigger. But if you just sit with it, it'll go away easier.
So mine is the flip side, the other side. I think, you know, as we leave a lot of takeaways with our listeners, I want to encourage people to honor other people's journey, whether it's in how they're acknowledging or expressing their grief, whether it's in decisions that they making in their life. You don't have to agree with somebody's actions to honor their journey. Right. And so if I'm posting Kobe for the rest of this month, allow me to do it. Don't chastise me. Don't say, oh, I'm about to stop following her because all she keep talking about is Kobe. Like, no, let people
that be in the space. Powerful. Scroll by fast.
Exactly. Let people be in the space that they're in, and instead of asking, why are you so upset about somebody you didn't know? Ask them, what is this doing for you?
Yes, because that's my, well, I'll let you finish because that's my other one.
What's happening, you know, for you? What do you think this is about? Why do you think that this is affecting you? Not kind of minimizing their reaction just because you didn't know the person, you know what I mean? And so just learning to be respectful of the spaces that other people are in. You know, I couldn't imagine if I was a mother of 4 girls, I would feel my pain might be crazy off the hook right now, you know? And so just stepping back and allowing people to be in their space that they're in.
How's the blackety black way of saying mind your fucking business? Just worry about you. You
Stay in your lane, sis.
You don't feel nothing. Okay. Why don't you go back to the loss you did have at 10 that you still dealing with? Go back there.
Yeah.
And then you won't be fucking paying attention to my 20 posts this month. So going to another one for me is also allowing yourself, kind of what I said earlier, and even tragic situations, everything life is whispering to us in different ways. So just using this as an opportunity to say, what did this bring up for me? And even if it's not tears and sadness and sorrow, what is this bringing up for me? Even if it's indifferent, like, wow, I didn't feel anything there. Use it as an opportunity to say, what is this mirroring for me?
Yeah.
Because everything in life is almost like props just for you to get the message. So, yeah.
And so in my closing, so you said, honor your feelings. I said, you know, honor other people's journey. Figuring out a way to honor their loss. And so I don't know but when I was younger, my mom would not let me go to funerals. But I would always see the